sprayer. It'll hold 1,000 gallons. It's 90-foot boom. My brother sprayed 1,000 acres one day with this machine. So typically we're in that 500-600 acres. So we were focused on some worms, and it was a challenge for him to see how many acres he could get done in one day. So he was able to get 1,000 acres. There are several unique things about this. We used to have some older model sprayers, but this particular sprayer, the shiny tank is a tank that we put the chemicals in. On the other side is an inductor to where while we're out in the field we can pour the chemical into the inductor. It's just a little box and it sucks the chemical and puts it into the tank. And then also on there's a place where you can put the jug to where you can rinse the jug out while you're filling the sprayer. So we're able to then, once we're done, the jug has been triple rinsed and ready for disposal. The black tank right over this Ron's head is where we keep fresh water. So when we're spraying a field, and let's say we're spraying Roundup along with an insecticide, and then we need to go somewhere else to spray another type of chemical, we'd stop the machine, we'd rinse the sprayer out by hitting some knobs on the other side, and it'll suck the water out of the rinse water tank, rinse the tank out. Then we can turn around and spray that in the field we just left at such a diluted rate. It's not adding anything more pesticides, it's just rinsing the sprayer, the tank, and the boom. Then we can go to the next application. So it's just allowing us to be more efficient, and that's where the technology has sure come a long way. Because previously you just come to your barnyard, you take a water hose and fill it up, hose it out, and then go spray it somewhere. Here we can do it on the same spot. Again, like I said, this is auto steer. It does have the technology where we can change the rates. We haven't gone to where we can change the rates on, it does it on its own. We can manually change them by just turning the knob. As you know, as we've gone across a lot of the fields with the combine, we know where the better parts of the field are. So we know if we need a little bit more fertilizer there because we know we can utilize it, or more importantly, when we get out in areas that it's not very productive, we can cut back on the fertilizer. So we can just change that knob to where we can be more efficient. I'm sure there's technology where it can go on the go. We just haven't adapted to that. Whereas we have on the Interrogator.
David, could you mention about your nitrogen program and the source you're using? Because a lot of people may be using granular.
Okay. Dr. Alley asked me to talk about our nitrogen sources, and we're all liquid here except for our potash and lime, and then the 32 pelletine. We use 32 sometimes, but most of the time we're adding some sulfur to it. So we're typically a 24003. We didn't have to be that because in that direction is a town called Hopewell, and before they started cleaning up the atmosphere, we were getting their sulfur free. So now we're having to apply sulfur. Sulfur on air soil leaches something similar to nitrogen, but we minimize that by splitting their applications up. Our typical program on fertility is, we'll start in corn real quick, is we'll put out some potash in the fall or winter time. We put our lime out, and then when we're planting, we'll put some starter fertilizers out, and then we'll start side dressing our corn based on the weather conditions. This year we started side dressing the corn when the corn was at V4, which is about yay tall. And then if on our better soils, we would side dress again if we had adequate moisture and the conditions were right, which as you could tell they weren't right this year. So and we have a nutrient management plan, and we have a great history of what each field has been able to do based on the technology from the harvesters. So we apply nutrients based on that, and we're about 1.1 pounds of nitrogen per yield goal of corn. This year we've gotten the height of the corn, we just don't have the ear. And then in their small grain, we put nitrogen down at planting, about 25 to 30 pounds, and then based on the plant growth, We do tiller counts in January, February, and we'll apply nitrogen, and that's some of the technology that Virginia Tech has provided us, the extension service. We have really good graphs, and I know Dr. Alley's been very supportive or helpful on that. And then we also have some times in which we'll pull tissue samples, and we have a wonderful chart for that to where we can base our nitrogen application on that. That's briefly the fertility program.
A couple of questions right
Sure.
quick. How many acres of corn are you actually rotating in and out every year?
Great question. We have about 2,000 acres of corn. This year we got 2,200 acres of corn. Probably 2,000 acres too many. And then we'll have about 600 acres of early beans, and then the rest of the acres is small grain, and then we'll double crop beans behind that.
Have you guys